Who should we trust? Who can we trust? Well, with today's fake news, our media, and all the different biases, I think I should leave that to you and not dictate what it is that I think. Dapat ikaw. We have Butch Valdez, we've got Art Albendia with us. Let's go to another issue very quickly.
Yes.
Federalism, now sinasabi nila, the 20-man consultative group came up with their decision. Basically, lahat federalism except some wanted a hybrid. Di ba? Parang different. May presidente, tsaka may federal government. But basically, papunta doon. I know your point. You made that to me before, Butch. You're saying that maybe it should only be Mindanao. But then again, like you said, I leave it to the President's knowledge and wit to understand, to promote what he thinks, which is actually Mindanao, that he really wants to go federal. Ikaw, Art, where do you stand on that issue?
And before you even make a decision on the structure of power, I think we ought to take a look at what is the system that they are planning to implement. You see, when you're talking of charter change is actually a review of the system that you have, the system of governance, the economic system, all this. If you look at the preamble of, if you look at the American Constitution, the way it's written up, they actually had a preamble and then a declaration of, and then the response to the preamble. The preamble was basically a discussion of what was happening under the British rule. And then as a result of that, they responded, ito ang ating
Presidential
declaration.
system. Kasi wala silang king.
In our case, what is the preamble? We should ask ourselves, ano ba yung rinigyan natin?
I've read that so many times, but go ahead.
But what we have is 50 years of democracy. And a market system, and an economic system, a governance system, and we look at the results, it has not worked.
So, federalism ka, parliament.
No, not necessarily, because in fact, it depends on what you're implementing. What is the system that you're going to implement now? What is your vision? There's no vision that we have right now. The vision that's going on is whatever the market system says or whatever the market forces say we should go. It's not the way to build a nation.
This is
I'm not clear. Are you for, if you were to be asked on a plebiscite right now, will you go federal, which could be a mestizo, a hybrid, as they say, or we continue as the presidential system?
Let's put it this way. I would rather go with the devil that I know than the devil that I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, there was one of them who said that. At least ang Pilipino naintindihan na yung presidential system, i-tweak na lang, ayusin na lang, i-amend na lang. Kumbaga. No need to introduce something that's going to complicate the issue again for the next 10 years at least.
Well, let me bring out another point on federalism. I think the issue of federalism is actually a distraction from the real agenda of what is being put into the system. There is the whole set of economic provisions that sinasabi nila. These are the substantive things that would affect our future.
20 learned men stood up and 7 out of 20 voted, actually all federalism, hybrid lang yung 13 versus 7. But these are all learned men. I mean, seriously, you disagree with all of them?
I disagree.
Go ahead.
Let us not criticize whether they're learned or not. No? But there is one thing that is obviously lacking in that consultative group. Art had mentioned vision. No? The discussions, as if you were to listen to their papers, which they read
Defended.
during a Senate hearing, no. I personally considered it superficial discussions on both sides. No? On both sides. Why? Because there was no vision, no objective, no national objective that was being defined. No? And the lack of that is where the flaw is. What is it? The question should be, what is it that you want your country to be? and your children to be in, no, 20, 30, 40 years from now, what kind of life do you want your grandchildren to be living at that point? Now, once you have defined that in terms of quality of life, in terms of cultural development, in terms of scientific development, and so on and so forth, and also in terms of being at the level wherein other countries are in. No? After you have defined that, then you'd say, what type of government do I need to put up so that I will be able to achieve that objective? This is where we are lacking. No? The discussion will always center on Imperial Manila, no?
But that's
Taking
what,
all of the resources.
Yeah,
This is reality. I'm not saying.
Ah.
This is reality, and this is the perception of those that are not in Manila. So they want to be able to control their own part of the development because Imperial Manila is holding them back.
everything, yes.
They feel, okay. So if you start to talk like that, separation ka na. Ang premise mo, separate na. No? And yet, when you say Imperial Manila and we are here, no? You're saying we want to be able to develop according to how we want. You're not one country anymore. Whereas what the objective should be, all Filipinos, whether they're Manila or Mindanao, no, should be having a country giving the same type of development for all. No?
So federalism is not a solution.
I'm saying, because pag sinabi mong Manila, Imperial Manila, and dito kami sa Negros o kung saan man, inevitably you will talk about money. Because the collection of resources, no, is divided now 80-20.
Correct.
So, you're saying it should be 70-30 or
60-40,
60-40 dito. I said, is that what it is? Is the division of money and that's it? So that this so-called semi-independent state will have more resources and that solves everything? It does not. You have to go deeper into understanding what you want.
So your point is
For
not
your
necessarily federal or presidential. We're going about this the wrong way.
Yes.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
No, it's not a matter of who uses the power, who has the power. It's a matter of how have we been using power, governance power? How have we used our freedom, for that matter? And if you look at what has passed in the past
60 years, 70 years,
yeah.
yes.
Look at what has happened to government. Has government played the role that it needs to in the development of this country? Initially, yes. It was very active. It was investing in it. Now it's abdicating that role to privatization. It used to be that, for example, natural resources. Natural resources was something that was initiated by government. Geothermal, if you remember. We started investing in exploring this. What are we doing now? We're saying, oh, let the private do it. What does that mean? You're compromising the future use of these natural resources and giving it to the control of a private group.
Which are profit-oriented.
Which are profit-oriented.
And nothing else.
And what about,
Right.
well, this is the legacy, this is the commonwealth of the country, which should benefit along the generations after us. And what will it do? They will get the financial returns. They're only looking at the financial returns.
How is it that 12 supposedly learned men make a proposal so averse to what were to your points of views?
Well,
How do you characterize that group, the consultative group of 20 who are supposed to be leaders in the community, learned people from the academe, even from the justice system, Renato Puno, who's on top, di ba? how do you, because tama nga naman, you can't ask every single Filipino, ano tingin mo, federal, president, hindi naman pwede, marami hindi pa makakaintindi niyan.
Yeah.
Pagdating ng plebiscito, even worse. Baka mga oligarchs and dynasts and those who are into business and whatnot will promote their specific idea and again control them using Smartmatic all over again. Di ba? Parang ganun eh. Then we really don't have the true voice of the people. But do the people's voice matter? Do they understand?
Yes.
Maybe you believe the
I believe they
Filipino...
understand.
I believe they understand because the question should not be asked as to whether they want federalism or presidential, because even if they are not poor, some rich people don't really understand that, no? But if you ask the poor people, ano ang gusto mong kinabukasan para sa inyong anak o sa apo?
Diba? Pero pag sinabi mo presidential o federal, hindi niya maintindihan kung ano sasagutin niya doon.
Pero malalaman mo, some of them have so much dreams for their children.
Of course.
But most now, tingnan mo, iba na yung dream. It used to be during our time that the parent wants their son to be an astronaut, to be a scientist, to be...
Ngayon, OFW na lang.
Ngayon, I'm not kidding,
Mag-call center ka.
mag-call center, mag-OFW, o
Hindi ka na pwede mag-call center. Thanks to Ateneo and Chris Aquino, they murdered the Tagalog English
That's right.
languages.
But-
Di ba?
but-
I mean, may mix na Taglish ngayon, hindi maintindihan eh.
But you see how the minds of the people have been corrupted, no? Into adjusting their dreams to a level. No, we should not allow that, no? Ours, if we can see that, must allow human beings, Filipinos, to be thinking along the lines of whatever a human being can achieve, no? There are sectors still around the world that dream about their children becoming astronauts. There are sectors that dream about their grandchildren being the first man to colonize Mars. No? Those are real dreams, and that is science-based and based on economic development. No? Because once you will know that dream, what is it here that we have on Earth?
How
that
do we offer, what do we offer the people when it comes to this plebiscite? I mean, at the rate it's going. I mean, you have the consultative, then it's going to be messed up in Congress when they start discussing it because may interest groups na yan eh. To begin with, wala pa nga, hindi pa nga pinagbabawalan ang dinastiya, di ba?
Yeah.
Once it goes on the congressional floor and the committee hearings, sasabog pa yan.
Yes, that's the sad commentary of our times because it's a highly political issue, and it will be yes or no, right?
But it has to be that question in the end.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but the premises have been wrong, and so we will come up with
The wrong answer. So garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
Yes, Art, we're going to have to close the show soon, but very quickly.
Yeah. So I think what is needed is we really need to focus on the economic provisions. Somebody has to start the discussion along that line because that's the real thing that could change the future of this country.
To help teach the viewers, the people to understand how to understand it.
Yeah.
The economics.
Yeah. For example, one, the role of government. Dapat
Don't abdicate your...
do not abdicate your
responsibility.
patriarchal role. Two, the matter of land ownership. Why are you going?
That's not even being discussed
That's
right
not
now.
even discussed.
Even term limits. Ayaw pag... Hindi, sinabi na wala nang term limits eh. That's the first thing that came out.
In fact-
Pero walang economic provisions lumalabas.
In fact, that is why I was saying that this is
You're right,
all
na walang economic.
that the federalism is really, this charter change is a Trojan horse. The real agenda
Pag
is the
nabuksan mo na yung-
Pag binuksan mo yan, yung economic
Ayan.
agenda, yan ang lalabas.
Yan ang lalabas.
And, yeah.
and that's the control. No?
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring up another topic, this topic of dynasty. Now, I have to bring this up since we opened it up. I was told by one consultative member this last weekend that I should be happy that they are going to propose that the new constitution must have an anti-dynasty bill, right?
Yes.
And then I said, why should I be happy? I think, personally, I think it is class legislation. It is class legislation because you're preventing a Filipino from running for office just because he's a relative of another, right, who is in office. I said, if that has become a monster, which it is, don't get me wrong, I don't like
yes,
the
yeah,
way
go
it
ahead,
is.
go ahead.
If dynasties have become a monster, it is because they're feeding on something, right? Why not take what feeds that monster away?
Pork barrel, tanggalin mo na kagad.
Tanggalin mo lahat ng pork barrel. Not the only thing. Tanggalin mo yung power ng president to buy legislators' support. Kasi ang executive, binibili ang support ng legislator
Para
by
matuloy.
giving them special allocations,
I
right?
don't think Duterte is doing that.
No,
This
but-
administration, I
But
mean,
yeah,
not for anything. I haven't heard
not
anything
Duterte,
yet.
yeah. But it's still a power. So you have to cut that power and take out. So there will be a natural attrition and the dynasties, because dynasties means politics became their family business.
Correct.
Okay? Now take out what feeds this monster and that monster will die.
Bagay. Then
And
that way, mawawala na yung
kung wala
dinastiya.
na silang pagkikitaan, sweldo na lang ang papag-usapan, then you will probably attract real legislators.
Which you would want to stay as a dynasty.
Well, kung minsan legislator sila, hindi na yung nandun sila para lang kikita dito sa
So
pork
fusing them
barrel.
together into a federalist system, because the legislation and the executive are fused together, becomes even more dangerous.
Yes, kung meron lang ganyan.
We're going to have to end the show. I can't even give you an exit message. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not here to try and create a perspective for you to follow. I am not a know-it-all. I am not one of the learned people, so to speak. Now, you have to play that role. I hate to say it. You cannot say, ay, hindi ko alam yan. Oh, no, 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 no. You have to make that decision. And the only way you're going to do it is begin to understand. Thank you very much. We hope you've enjoyed our program. I know it's time over.
I believe.